YoungBoy's run from 2015 to the end of 2017 was one of a kind. He dropped 8 solo mixtapes and one joint one with Moneybagg Yo, giving fans more music in his formative years than some artists deliver in their entire careers. And this generosity with his art was rewarded by a cult following of loyal fans who fell in love with the music and would always show up for him from here on out. 3 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 and 3 projects on Billboard's 200 albums charts. YoungBoy was flourishing in the music industry since signing his Monster 5 album $2 million deal with Atlantic. But YoungBoy was making murder music all about violence and killing. And before we go any further, I just want to address something. In YoungBoy's songs from 2017 and in numerous tracks that came later in his career, he seemingly claims to have 7 bodies. And despite being considered a mainstream artist making music for respected record labels, the content of his music and his own statements in these songs has led to intense speculation over whether or not YoungBoy has in fact personally killed anyone, or more specifically, more than 7 people, as he claims in many of his songs, with many wondering exactly who these people he claimed to have killed might have been. This is not dissimilar to all of the speculation that has surrounded Chicago drill rapper King Von, who was rumored to have killed at least 7 people, with his name being connected to as many as 11 murders, with an endless collection of tweets and lyrics which saw King Von himself seemingly confessing to playing a role in these specific murders. I personally believe that King Von did indeed kill at least 7 people, and I covered this extensively in my recent video, King Von, Rap's First Serial Killer. But when it comes to YoungBoy, it's much harder to say. After the alleged killer of G Money was revealed to have been an affiliate of the NBA crew, many people thought YoungBoy had directly paid for this hit. YoungBoy has released lyrics before and after G Money's death, suggesting that he was willing to engage in murder for hire, like the track Ride On 'Em, and years later, on his Richest Op album, rapping on the song Dirty Thug, that he just has to pay the fee for his shooters to leave people dead in the street. Also on the track Bitch Let's Do It, where YoungBoy claimed that his gang would creep up and put his ops' heads on pillows. He would also rap that he used his dollars to send hits through the city, and that when this worked, he went on to go crazy with bodies. Also on the track Slimes Go Where I Go, YoungBoy opens his verse confessing that he believes he could get 100 years in jail for the murders he's been involved in. As his career has gone on, more and more fans have theorized as to whether or not YoungBoy has killed, or whether he has at least had people killed. There's even a fan theory that YoungBoy has a child for every person he kills, a theory partly supported by lyrics on a leaked song that didn't end up on the album top, but was circulating in the days leading up to its release, a song apparently titled Soul Stealer, where YoungBoy raps that he has guns with bodies on them and that he's part of a group that he had to kill to join, even ending the song saying that he's 7 up, but he needs 3 more, and saying that he needs 10 bodies, 10 hats, and 10 mama baby souls. Which, if you consider the fact that he apparently has 10 or 11 kids at this point, could very well hold water. However, some of the conspiracy theories on exactly who YoungBoy may be referring to when he says he has over 7 bodies do seem like a bit of a stretch. The first person YoungBoy is rumored to have killed or had killed was one of the killers of YoungBoy's childhood friend Lil Dave, with this speculation being based off a single YoungBoy lyric where he appeared to suggest that he paid for vengeance for Dave after he begun making large sums of money. Years later, on the track F the Industry Part 2 on his album Richest Op, YoungBoy would drop a lyric seemingly confessing to having had to kill somebody at age 16, but it's unclear who this may have been. But on the same song, YoungBoy would also drop a menacing lyric saying that he witnessed somebody beating his mother as a child and that he killed them when he grew up. Whether or not you believe that YoungBoy would be capable of killing somebody, you can't deny the fact that after his cousin Boozilla got killed, he caught a double attempted murder charge whilst personally trying to avenge his cousin. However, as the judge acknowledged, nobody actually did die in this case. G Money, however, was less lucky, being gunned down after trading public death threats with YoungBoy. And while the actual shooters of G Money were never found, the conviction of a prominent NBA member on accessory charges firmly pointed the finger at the NBA camp. The next alleged killing is a rumor that's heavily debated amongst YoungBoy fans. An unreleased YoungBoy song called Money Man has been circulating on YouTube, Reddit, and SoundCloud for a number of years. The song isn't listed on lyric breakdown sites like Genius.com, but the track itself does include some outrageous lyrics that have gone viral numerous times on Reddit, particularly lyrics that seem to suggest that YoungBoy killed a rival gang member's girlfriend in retaliation for his grandmother's house being shot up. This all relates to a feud with another set of Baton Rouge street hitters called TMH, or Too Many Hitters. The story goes that somebody from TMH shot up YoungBoy's grandmother's house. However, TMH32 would later deny this shooting in lyrics on his song FAN. But according to lyrics from YoungBoy's song Money Man, another person from TMH by the name of Hammer was actually targeted in a shooting, which unfortunately ended up claiming the life of his girlfriend. Now, while this is just a lyric and an unreleased freestyle, YoungBoy fans on Reddit have desperately tried to solve this crime, with one theory suggesting that the victim was a 19-year-old woman by the name of Erneisha Barnes. The news would go on to report on the shooting, suggesting that she was a passenger in a car hit by accident whilst the shooting targeted the driver.
We also have now learned the identity and the name of that 19-year-old woman. Police tell us that it was about 10:15 last night when an unknown suspect in a red Chevy Trailblazer fired several shots into a car with 19-year-old Erneisha Barnes sitting in the passenger seat. It happened near Gus Young and 48th Street. We're told that Barnes was actually taken to a local hospital where she later died.
Barnes died of a gunshot wound to the stomach after police say a suspect traveling in a red Chevy Trailblazer fired into the car she was a passenger in. Several sources said 2 other people were in the car at the time. It is believed that one of them, Erneisha's best friend, was the intended target.
No one would ever think, suspect or imagine something like that happening to them, their child,
However, despite fan theories that YoungBoy was in fact responsible for this tragic murder, later on, 2 completely unrelated people would be taken into custody for this shooting, with it being claimed that the shootout stemmed from an argument and that the shooter was targeting the driver of the vehicle Barnes was in. Donnie Spencer was charged with first-degree murder for the shooting, despite publicly claiming to be innocent, and Ashley Taylor was charged with attempted second-degree murder and illegal use of a weapon, for apparently shooting at a woman in the same spot just minutes before this fatal drive-by, with cops claiming that the 2 shootings were connected and that both shootings stemmed from an ongoing argument.
Scotty Hunter tonight with the key thing that helped police make a very quick arrest.
The man accused of carrying out this year's record-breaking murder in Baton Rouge, 27-year-old Donnie Spencer, is behind bars tonight. As he was loaded off to prison, he had nothing to say except one thing: innocent. Spencer is charged with first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder after allegedly gunning down 19-year-old mother Erneisha Barnes last Thursday in a drive-by shooting on Gus Young at 48th. His information put out on Friday. Roughly 72 hours later, he was picked up today by the U.S. Marshals Task Force.
Now, the rumor that YoungBoy was involved in this murder has been widely considered to have been debunked, as Donnie Spencer would eventually be sentenced to 22 years for this murder. However, that hasn't stopped rabid YoungBoy fans from continuing to spread the rumor that the person who took the charge was actually just doing it on behalf of YoungBoy to take the fall, since he'd maintained his innocence during proceedings. And this rumor's been kept alive by yet more ambiguous YoungBoy lyrics that seem to mention a woman being killed in the crossfire. YoungBoy seemed to mention a similar situation in an unreleased song called Stay in Your Lane, rapping about how she got killed outside a corner store, seemingly a reference to the location of the killing of Barnes. And later, YoungBoy rapped in the song Murder Man, thought it was him, it was his bitch. Let me tell you how that go, I'm the murder man. And even more recently on his 2023 album Richest Op, where he rapped on the song I Heard that someone got swerved on with his girl, she got hit, and all he heard was her last breath. Now, despite the fact that this particular murder has been solved with a suspect who was sentenced for the murder, fans would continue to be desperate to try and link YoungBoy to specific murders going forward, and YoungBoy himself would appear to be happy to contribute to these conspiracies. Throughout his career, he's continued to make supposed murder anthems. Murder songs are essentially a subgenre of YoungBoy songs, primarily where he raps all about these supposed murders and assassinations that he may or may not be responsible for, and repeatedly referring to himself in these songs as a gravedigger or the murder man, and claiming to be doing his Murder Man dance to these songs, with YoungBoy fans even rabidly creating playlists of what they feel are his best murder songs, and ranking which murder anthem is the best for spinning on ops, with it generally being considered that YoungBoy's top murder anthem is Dead Trolls, the track which appeared to foreshadow King Von's death, a song where YoungBoy actually raps, 7 murders in my hometown, tell them I did that. Naturally, with all of this violent content in the music, and even more real-life violence playing out on the streets of Baton Rouge, it's perhaps not surprising that big corporate entities would be scared to be associated with YoungBoy, the self-proclaimed murder man. But despite Atlantic Records being willing to put their public support behind YoungBoy in the form of a multi-million-dollar record deal, others would be desperate to distance themselves from the violent content of his music. And it's worth noting that a little while after signing his record deal in 2017, YoungBoy quietly changed his official name from NBA YoungBoy to YoungBoy Never Broke Again. Apparently this was a tactical maneuver carried out to avoid a potentially costly and damaging copyright dispute with the real NBA, the National Basketball Association. The initials NBA are trademarked and intellectual property of the National Basketball Association, and ironically, had YoungBoy kept using NBA in his name, he very well could have ended up getting sued and ended up very much broke again, with the National Basketball Association generally being a bit more of a family-friendly business that likely don't want to be associated with the sort of street activity that YoungBoy's NBA are into. Unless your name's Ja Morant, of course, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, after resolving his name change and avoiding a potentially costly legal dispute with the other NBA, and after the murder of his biggest rival in the Baton Rouge rap scene, G Money, YoungBoy, with the support of his label, would launch into a huge promotional campaign for his next project, setting the stage for YoungBoy to have a meteoric 2018, which saw him break into the mainstream music conversation. In January 2018, he released his big commercial single, Outside Today. The song itself was interesting thematically, and perhaps foreshadows YoungBoy's constant subjugation to house arrest. Only in this song, he says that he's staying inside to avoid the paparazzi and all the attention that has come from his newfound fame. The song wasn't short of gangster content either. Elsewhere in the hook, he rapped that he would still do a drive-by in his Rolls-Royce Wraith. YoungBoy goes on to make a pretty bold and shocking claim, stating that if you want to join NBA, you need to have caught a body, along with other lyrics where he claims to jump out and shoot at people's houses, describing the exact scenario where he caught 2 attempted murder charges after the murder of Boozilla. He follows that up with a lyric claiming to always be telling the truth and never capping in his lyrics, a bold claim which is followed up by another ominous lyric where he claims to shoot his ops and their women. Another lyric which is eerily similar to the rumoured shooting of an innocent woman that we discussed earlier on. Now, the music video for the song makes a big statement about where YoungBoy's life was at this point in his career. In the music video, YoungBoy's girlfriend at the time, Jania, can be seen trying to avoid a group of paparazzi asking questions as she enters his home. YoungBoy would rap his verses for this song in an opulent mansion, along with a cameo from Louisiana's #1 stunner himself, Birdman, the legendary New Orleans record exec and rapper of Cash Money fame. The red-themed video, along with the presence of Birdman, one of hip-hop's most famous Blood Gang members, appeared to be a subtle hint at YoungBoy's ongoing connections to the Blood Gang, as can also be heard in their 2018 collaboration, We Poppin'. And YoungBoy and Birdman would maintain a close relationship going forward, and they would even eventually create a joint mixtape together with a strong Louisiana theme titled From the Bayou. Birdman would also be one of the very first people in the industry to see YoungBoy's full potential, predicting in a 2018 interview just days before Outside Today released that YoungBoy would be the biggest young superstar that the rap game had ever heard of.
I think he the next biggest young superstar the game that never had. Talent-wise, he's an animal. He's a monster. I had the pleasure of being around him and see how he worked, watch how he worked. I think he's gonna be the next biggest superstar in the world. As the youngsters.
Birdman was spot on, and that single Outside Today ended up becoming YoungBoy's breakout hit, landing on the Billboard Hot 100 singles chart at number 31. The song Outside Today would actually be the lead single for YoungBoy's debut studio album, titled Until Death Call My Name, which was released on April the 27th, 2018. This project was a resounding success for YoungBoy, peaking at number 7 on the Billboard 200 albums charts, his highest performing project at the time, and his first top 10 Billboard hit. And the project also included the song Genie, his most viewed solo hit, which today sits at over 380 million views on YouTube. The project itself was laced with interesting and introspective lyrics where YoungBoy painted a picture of the dark life he was living. The song Preach has lyrics where YoungBoy talks about how he often thinks about his dead homies, and we hear YoungBoy reflecting on the state of his mental health as he speaks on how he masks his pain every morning with a smile. The album also references members of his NBA team as shooters like Baby Joe in the first song Solar Eclipse, and secondly in the song Right or Wrong, where he says Baby Joe will put that Draco to people's back or heads. And in the song Solar Eclipse, YoungBoy also reveals that he keeps a firearm even when performing on stage. Elsewhere in the song, he pays homage to legend of Chicago drill music Chief Keef, saying that he's killing like the Grim Reaper and drilling like Chief Keef. An ironic line, given the eventual beef between NBA and Chicago rappers a few years down the line. But at this point, YoungBoy had truly arrived in the rap game, a top 10 charting artist with the whole power of the music industry behind him, despite the violent content behind his lyrics. But unfortunately for YoungBoy, despite his success as a rapper, his past in the streets would indeed catch up with him and his team, and soon he would end up losing one of the people closest to him, his close friend and manager, Big Dump. If you found that clip interesting, please hit the like and subscribe button, and if you want to watch the full-length version of this video, check out the documentary on my main channel, Trap Law Ross, and if you want the uncut version of that documentary with 30 minutes of footage I cannot show you on YouTube, then head on over to patreon.com/traplawross, where you can watch all of my best videos completely uncut for just $2. And if you want to keep in touch and get updates on the next documentaries that I'm going to be dropping, make sure you follow me on Instagram @TraplawRoss. Appreciate it. Peace.